Hello everyone and a very warm welcome from this episode of Digital Dialogue powered by CXO Digital Bucks. Today we'll be discussing about various aspects of enterprise cybersecurity, and for that we have a very special guest with us, Mridul, who is the cybersecurity head for Visa. Thank you so much, Mridul, to be there with us today.
Thank you so much, Pradeep, for inviting me on this unique session.
And I would call it, yes, all our pleasure, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so to start off with, Mridul, what is your approach towards risk assessment, particularly when it comes to security threats and applications?
Okay. So, security analysis, threat analysis, and risk analysis for application is a very comprehensive and very systematic process, and you really have to go to step by step for it. So, I would say first step is identify your asset. What are the critical assets of application that you want to secure? For an example, hardware, software, the components of application, the inside architecture, software that is being used, and dependencies like upward, downward. So all that asset identification is step number one. Second is threat modeling or threat analysis. So you take an application and see what are the attack surfaces open, what can inject, ingress and outgress of an application, right? What can come inside the application as a threat? What are the attack vectors that can actually spoil that application, attack surface open? So entire threat analysis, like architectural analysis of that application, topology, a network, infrastructure, and application, right? And what is coming inside application and what is the use of application? So step number two. Third is a vulnerability assessment, and that comes in a number of processes or steps, I will say, right from the code analysis. So you do static code analysis, you do dynamic code analysis like SAST and DAST, we say, as part of the vulnerability assessment. You also do penetration testing. You basically simulate the attacks that probably external researchers or ethical hackers could do. You simulate that and you exercise that as part of your penetration testing, like say bounty testing, and so on. And code analysis is definitely important. One more thing or step is very important now, which has come from the software supply chain risk, right? Because every application uses some third-party components, some third-party software, and if that software is malicious or hacked, your entire application is under those, right? So you do open source vulnerability assessment. There are many tools available today to do that, like external tools. Now I think which is very famous right now is the Sonadai one, right? So you do third-party analysis as well. Now after you do all of this assessment, key control assessment processes, you also took a step of impact analysis. What if application is hacked or application is compromised, exploited, different parts of the application? What is the impact on your organization?
More like in a tantrum
Kind of. But let's say it has happened. What would it go back up? It's like a, worst case analysis practice. And when you do that impact analysis, you score it. You score each impact, some risk score. And then you quantify the risk. Okay, this much risk can happen application. And that's where you basically take action, severity of the, threat modeling and how you can mitigate that. With the risk scoring, you also do mitigation analysis. What can you do to fix? Okay. And at the end of it, you again basically based on mitigation, you fix the code, you fix your network, do some changes, you bring some more security components to do more robust security posture, all of that. But at the end of it, I would say, now after you do all of this, you learn from it, right? It's all now you do shift left. You have to have shift left in your mindset, in your process. Shift left is not a product or a tool, it's a philosophy. So you have to have security by mindset. So all of this, if you want to avoid, you have to write a secure code. So secure coding guidelines, practices, awareness, education, training, all of that you want to put in practice. Because once you write secure code, all of the steps you can avoid, right? And imagine the cost that you would avoid. So security by mindset, security by design, and having shift left methodology is very, very important, I would say, as part of all of this.
Definitely, I would say, because while every tool is there, unless that mentality of having a security by design is being there,
Exactly.
I'm sure that there would be otherwise many loopholes.
They say, right? Something that you find as a vulnerability at the right code. When you write the code, you spend one. percent of effort and cost. Something in QA, you spend 10%. Something has happened in researcher or security analyst, and 100%. So 1/10, you want to spend one, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So, Katri, with that, how do you ensure the use, the security in use and development of APIs in the financial environment, and especially as you mentioned that we are there in strategic analysis with various aspects, and then we have third parties software. So how do you ensure that strategy for the API?
Yeah, APIs has become very, very important nowadays because that's how you develop, you implement. Every product tool that you write from scratch as organic development, everything has to be API aware and API first approach, because that's the easiest and the best way to integrate one tool to another, one product to another. But that breaks the security aspect, as you said, right? So again, there are different steps you have to do, many things, because API means you're opening an endpoint, a particular endpoint to which external parties, clients can integrate with, they get access. So first, definitely access comes, so authentication and authorization. So you have to make sure you implement very strong authentication techniques. The latest protocol like OAuth 2.0, multi-factor authentication. So you have to make sure any entity that accesses your API, be it the client or the device or the user or anything, because so many access points have increased, they are authenticated to the system. They are authenticated user. That's step number one. Second is only authentication is not sufficient. You have to make sure they have right authorization. So even if I have credentials to authenticate, like maybe API key or what you say, user authentication and things like that, I have to make sure that I have right access and authorized to do that operation for which I'm accessing the API. So role-based access control. Okay, so authentication and authorization is very important. So that even if I have credentials, I'm not authorized to do that. Then the only admin is supposed to do it. So I presented my credential, I authenticated, but I'm not admin, so I need the privilege access, and my access is not sufficient. So role-based access control. The third is the encryption for sure, because API means there is a transaction, there is a request response, and so your transaction network traffic should be encrypted using TLS, transport level security, okay, to make sure that any injection attacks can be mitigated. Fourth important is input validation, sanitization, because API will bring some data. A request body has some data, right? So all that data that you accept as your request parameters or the body on the what you say, the specification that you mentioned at the request response, you validate on input, you sanitize that. That helps, as I said, in the injection attack that could possibly happen and any security vulnerabilities that could come in. The next important is, since it's API, it's an endpoint open, and all of the things that I just mentioned, I validate on, I just justify, I'm doing all of that. Then you have to make sure that I have throttling and readability, because even if I access, no, you don't want it to be accessed by malicious user and like a throttling rate, right? I have to do rate limiting. I have to do throttling to mitigate DDoS. Okay, right? Then the next important thing for API, I would say, make sure there is an API gateway for your organization or a product, because API gateway will help you to consolidate, centralize the security mechanisms that you want to use for API, just like what I said. And it is a consistent approach for all the APIs exposed by your organization. It's not like one product will have one mechanism, another different. You never centralize the API gateway, so all goes through that. They all have authentication, authorization, and the consistent policies. Then the next is audit and monitoring. Now you have APIs, traffic will come, so monitor the network traffic. That will give you traceability and also gives data to proactively act on incidents that might happen, because you have data, you have audit, you have logs. So it will give you ability to trace and take action based on it. So that's very important. And the last, again, things I would say is compliance, regulatory bodies that you come to comply with, like GDPR, EIDSS, and so on. And education training for all of that is a must-have. That's a must-have awareness. Again, here also have best practices, how to write APIs and how to expose endpoints. Again, security by design. But so many steps we do have to take it.
And considering all these processes are there in place and this all cannot be done manually, automation need to be fixed. And now we have AI and ML which has been introduced to us. So how do you incorporate AI and ML in your strategy to ensure that there's a timely response system there in place in case of any attack is there, or say in terms of identification and detection of these one?
Yes, I think we are really is a good segue to the next question. After we said application security, API security, now how do we make use of the latest technologies? Because we have to evolve, and the world is evolving. If we do not embrace new technologies, we'll be left behind, because the rate at which the hackers are evolving and being more intelligent, brilliant is amazing, right? So spatial use of, I think the AI ML is very important. As you said, the way you can start utilizing this is first you have to do data collection, because to do any machine learning models you need to have good amount of data. So you collect data of your network traffic, the user actions, the behaviors, what is the use of that application, all of that together, because in any organization after a certain amount of years you will have this data set ready. So collect that data. Now once you have data, use machine learning models to identify benign user, the behavior, and the malicious user behavior. Once you define that, how do you define that? You set some rules. Basically, you teach your machine learning model, define that model such a way that that model has parameters to identify behavioral analysis of the user, whether it is benign action or the malicious action. For an example, this comes with the behavioral patterns, right, of the user. Let's say you're accessing today from India, and just in 1 hour you're accessing from US IP. That cannot be possible. Same user cannot access. So geolocations, the time of the day, the regular pattern of your transaction. Let's say you always transact with 1,000 rupees or 2,000 rupees. Suddenly you are making transaction of 2 lakhs. That's unlikely that you would do, right? Or at least I should take your consent. So these are that you feed into the model. So then model understands what I classify as a benign transaction versus what I classify as a malicious transaction. Once you're feeding that data, it learns from it. So I feed and make a model. Now that model has a pattern. Now that pattern may become more and more intelligent, getting more and more data set. The more and more I use that pattern for a user behavior, the machine will learn from it. Now use that learned data, the trained data set, for having artificial intelligence too. Because for that, first you have to have a learned model. You learn from it, you have a trained set. Now from the trained set, now machine can take decisions. It's an intelligent machine will use to identify and take decision on behalf of user based on the data. Okay, next time when I see this user coming in with these parameters, because I have learned my model, and if it matches with my pattern, which is called as malicious, I will flag that user action as malicious. So imagine my response type now, right? So definitely now how we are using AI, now we are using AI as an automation for responding. Because incident responding or incident response is a very important aspect in cybersecurity. So now my incident responding has become very fast and very intelligent, and time it is very best. So I've done automation of that, and with that, your security posture will become more robust, because you're not taking time, you're taking very less sense of mitigate, right? Because you're automating that. So that's like fantastic use of AI in that. That's what I see as we go along.
Great, and I hope so. The way AI is helping us leverage its functionality to enhance our performance, that is amazing. But while I also understand that all this data is being generated by user only, because we are the user, correct. And towards the end of the entire circle, it's all about user experience.
Exactly. And I just wanted to add, see, going from response to being proactive, now we are going with predictive nature, which is so important in our generation for cybersecurity, right? We are able to predict what would happen, not being reactive. Now, earlier days we used to react, like incident happened, you react to it, you mitigate, you figure out things like, okay, what will be the impact? Is it my reputation damage? It is my monetary damage. And now I'm being predictive because of the AI and ML. And when you're predictive, look at the amount of damage that you are controlling at the source itself.
True. Definitely. But considering this predictive nature and the users at the resident level, because we are all like intelligent processing all these aspects, how do you balance the need of a strong application security when it comes to delivering a very smooth or a very secure interface or deliverable for the end users?
Yeah, that's a good question also. Because it's very interesting, right? We want to make sure everything's secure. But at the same time, if we make it very, very tedious for end user to operate, you will lose that user base, which you don't want. But at the same time, you don't want to compromise on security. It's a very, it's a very dicey situation, a very sticky situation for all of us. So we have to strike a balance, definitely, right? So how do you strike the balance? I think we touched upon an area about user behavior.
Yes.
So let's say I want to make a very strong authentication. I want to use multi-factor authentication based on the transaction you have. Let's say you're asking for high-value transaction, then I should ask one more factor. If you're an admin user, because an admin user has more privilege, right? So I should ask one more factor, things like that, which to enhance their security. Now, how I can give seamless user experience by keeping tight my security is basically like machine to understand more than asking you. Instead of me asking you question, can I automatically discover? So going that discover more by using again the AI, ML and behavior analytics. That's very, very important right now. To do even the risk quantification, you have to do behavioral analysis. So I definitely define what we do nowadays is we define like thousands of parameters of user behavior. I just named few. It's not just that, it's like a device, right? Which device should come from. So I take complete blueprint of the device, whether it is your desktop, mobile, iPad or a tablet or anything. Take a blueprint of your device. That itself gives many, many parameters. Then how you hold device, how you touch, keystrokes, the pressure, the environment, there are many, many small elements which are user-centric, because the way you do it, definitely I'm doing it differently. My finger pressure, way I type it, the space between the characters, every small thing are unique to every individual. So then you go to biometrics, like, your retina scan, your fingerprints, your facial recognition, all of those factors. So consider, basically identify and input those parameters in addition to what I said before. So using the thousands and thousands of behavioral analytics parameter, let system identify whether I should ask you second factor or not, right? And all these parameters will make me calculate the risk score. Let's say I'm feeding all these parameters and I know your benign transaction. Now, if anything goes wrong in that behavior, the finger pressure changes, or of course the face changes, is a different user. Based on the anomaly of these parameters, I will set a rule. If 5 parameters go wrong out of 1,000, what is the risk score? Then 10 parameters go wrong out of 1,000, what is the risk score? And at a certain risk score, let's say risk score is 20, which is high for me, I define as per my organization how sensitive data you are trying to access. I will basically throw you a second factor. Even I won't throw it. So it basically, system is automatically identifying and discovering what is the risk score and what is my threshold of the risk score, after which I should throw in a second factor. So most of the cases I will not throw in, because maybe 1 or 2 go wrong. Otherwise, this is why I throw you a second factor.
Yes.
So that enhances the user experience, because I am not getting always prompted to enter something new. System is identifying me. System is discovering, auto-discovering me. The second thing what we can do is low value transaction in the financial industry, right? Let's say we started doing something called network authentication, and we are doing transaction less than 2,000 rupees. Less risk for the user. I can identify user, and I can do a network level authentication and not asking any parameter from it. And that will reduce the cost of the user experience that we have. It's like very seamless. So things like that you can definitely do to enhance user experience. Other thing is, again, user training, awareness, give them the severity of the incident that would happen, the damage that would happen, and user themselves are imbibed with that knowledge about the security. And so all these things together, we can definitely enhance user experience, not compromising on security.
Definitely. And it is really fascinating to see when we specifically talk about the financial service providers or the financial industry, that how the entire infrastructure is getting evolved. The complexities are getting augmented because of various aspects. And as security leaders, they need to ensure those multiple operational securities, be the application, the process, regulation, compliances, and it all delves finally into a very smooth, seamless customer experience. And after all, customer is the king and we need to take care of customers' experience. It was really amazing having a word with you, brother. Thank you for being there with us and giving such insightful delve into the backend, which is going for the complexity and the worthiness. It's amazing to see.
Thank you so much, Pradeep, again for the opportunity, and it was my pleasure to talk about it. It's because I breathe. Then we are so I'm happy to share that with you. And thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.